They told us no one had ever survived a landing on VX-407X. And yet, as our ship breached the upper atmosphere, a human beacon was blinking at the surface. Regular pulses, coded in old Terran military syntax. Alive. Not alone. Do not extract. I gripped the side rail as turbulence shook the dropship like a rattle. The hull groaned. Warning lights flared across the cockpit. Behind me, Hart and Vesh checked their suits with practiced calm. Mendez, our pilot, cursed under his breath. "Celine," he called back. "This planet hates us." "Then we're in the right place," I muttered. "Take us lower." Below, the jungle looked more like a nightmare, endless coils of violet canopy, ridged with pale, swaying tendrils that seemed to breathe. The storm fronts chased themselves across the surface like hunting beasts, alive, coordinated. We pierced the lower cloud layer. Instantly, we lost 2 of our camera drones. No explosions. Just gone. "Impact in 20 seconds, Mendez barked. "Brace!" The ground didn't wait. We hit with a crunch that sent my teeth into my tongue. A sharp metallic shriek, then stillness. I unbuckled, kicked the stuck hatch twice before it hissed open. Heat poured in. The air was thick, like breathing molasses. I stepped out into the underbrush. Gravity here was brutal. Nearly 4 Earths. Every motion felt like swimming through wet stone. Vesh stumbled, her exosuit autocorrecting. "Jesus! You sure this beacon's not just a ghost?" Hart checked the scanner. "It's real. 70 meters northeast. Buried but active." We pushed forward, machetes in hand. The foliage didn't part, it fought. Leaves had fibers like wire. One sliced my glove open. Blood welled at my knuckle. The jungle tasted it. I swear I heard the vines hum. Then static. Hart's calm buzzed, then cut. He froze. "That wasn't ours." A sharp rustle. Movement, fast, low to the ground. Weapons raised, we turned. Nothing. "Keep moving," I said, pulse rising. "We don't stop." We found the beacon at the base of a gnarled tree, half swallowed by root and rot. The casing was old. Terran standard. Scratched into the steel, Drake. My stomach dropped. Drake was supposed to be dead. A decade ago, during the fall of Heptus. Last seen dragging wounded soldiers into a collapsing colony dome. They never found bodies. "Celine," Vesh whispered. "You know this guy?" "Used to." I knelt, scanning the signal's frequency. It had been modified, scrambled like a warning. The tree above us shivered. Thick sap oozed down the bark, smoking where it touched the soil. A faint clicking came from inside the trunk, like bone teeth grinding. We stepped back. Behind us, Mendez screamed. We turned. Nothing there. Then we saw the blood, just a trail across crushed underbrush, ending at a torn boot. No body. Vesh swallowed hard. "We're being hunted." I didn't reply. My hand shook as I keyed the emergency alert. No signal got out. "We move," I said. "Now. Back to the ship." We never made it. Our return path was gone, rewired. The forest had shifted behind us. Trees weren't in the same place. Plants we passed an hour ago were now ahead of us. Hart knelt to mark our position again. His suit's GPS glitched, coordinates flickered nonsense. He looked up. "I think this place, it moves." That night, we camped under a rock outcrop that barely shielded us from the rain, if you could call it that. The sky wept thick, pink fluid that hissed as it touched the ground. We stayed under the thermal tarp, no lights, minimal sound. Our rations tasted off, absorbing toxins maybe. We didn't talk much. I kept the beacon in my hand the whole night. At some point I heard footsteps, human. Not the crashing of some animal. Deliberate. Controlled. I crawled up quietly, pulse hammering. Fog crept low across the forest floor. And in the mist, about 20 feet away, someone stood watching me. No mask. No armor. Just a man in a ragged cloak, barefoot, head slightly tilted. He looked calm. I raised my weapon. Identify yourself! He said nothing. Just stared. Then he turned, and melted into the brush without a sound. I didn't sleep again. By morning, Hart was gone. No scream. No struggle. His gear was still there, rifle beside his bedroll. Just a single trail of drag marks, leading deep into the woods. No blood. I wanted to track him. But I also wanted to live. We pushed northeast, climbing a ridge that might get us above the tree line. And that's when I found the trap. A spiked pit, disguised under a false moss net. Crude, but effective. Human designed. Designed for humans. If I hadn't paused to check my scanner, I'd be impaled. I stared down at the jagged spears below and whispered. Someone is not just surviving here. Vesh glanced at me. They're thriving. I didn't answer. I was watching the trees again. And in the distance, high in the canopy, I saw it. A reflective glint. Eyes. Watching. Waiting. I raised the beacon and stared at Drake's name. God help me! I muttered. You're alive! The next morning, we climbed. Gravity punished every step. My calves trembled, suit servos whining under the weight. Vesh didn't complain, but I could hear her breath catching through comms. She wasn't used to moving in 4GS without rest. None of us were. The jungle thinned near the ridge. Pale, leafless trees stabbed up into gray light like skeletal fingers. No birds. No insects. Just wind, thick with the copper tang of ozone. Something up here had burned recently. I scanned again. The signal was stronger. Drake's beacon was no more than a kilometer east. We pressed on. 20 minutes later, Vesh dropped to one knee. Movement, she hissed, raising her rifle. I followed her gaze. A tall, hunched figure darted between two broken trees, fast, almost unnaturally so. Skin mottled, clothes shredded. Gone before I could speak. Then came the low hiss of a pressure-triggered mechanism. A net exploded from the underbrush, catching Vesh mid-rise. She screamed as the mesh constricted, tiny barbs slicing into her arms. I dove forward, knifed the cord just below her ribs, and dragged her out before it could fully tighten. You good? I asked, pulling the net off her. Stings like hell, she muttered, blood trickling from a dozen shallow cuts. But yeah. Too human. Too deliberate. This was a perimeter. We'd found the colony. Or it had found us. I raised my voice, calm but firm. This is Commander Celine Cade of the Galactic Council Xeno-Envoy Corps. We are not hostile. We are here to investigate a signal originating from... A thud behind me. Then darkness. I woke tied to a thick trunk with handwoven fiber. The knots were tight, military style. Someone knew how to bind a prisoner properly. We were surrounded by structures, crude but functional. Huts made from reinforced bark, vines twisted into scaffolding, solar panels salvaged and grafted into trees. A perimeter of natural traps marked the edge of the village. I'd expected ruins. This was survival. But more than that, it was adaptation. A dozen humans moved through the clearing. Tanned, lean, scarred. Men, women, a few children. No uniforms. No tech. But alert. Sharp-eyed. They moved with the terrain, not against it. I didn't see Vesh. Then I saw him. He stepped from the largest structure, barefoot, shirtless, arms folded. His beard was streaked with white, eyes bright and watchful. His voice, when it came, was low and steady. You made it. I stared. Drake. He nodded once. Didn't think they'd send you. I didn't know you were alive. Council prefers it that way. He motioned, and two colonists approached to untie me. We thought you'd be another probe. I told them you'd come eventually. My arms ached as the ropes loosened. I stood uneasy. Where's my lieutenant? She's safe. Healing. Your ship's being stripped. We salvaged what we could. You're going to have to explain a lot more than that. He didn't flinch. Let's walk. The village extended beyond what I'd guessed. Paths wound through thick flora like veins. Defensive positions, lookouts, food systems, all integrated into the jungle itself. Drake walked like he owned it. He had changed. Not just physically, fundamentally. There was a calm about him that didn't belong to soldiers. Or madmen. VX-407X isn't what they think, he said as we walked. It doesn't just kill. It tests. Those who learn its rhythms can live. Tests? I scoffed. It's a death world. So was Earth once. I stopped. You're seriously comparing this to early Terran history? I'm saying we've gone soft. Sanitized. Domesticated. He looked at me. This place forces evolution. It burns away weakness. How many of your people died first? He didn't blink. Most. And the ones who stayed? He glanced at the treetops. They changed. He brought me to a central grove where children, half-naked, mud-streaked, played under a canopy of thornfruit trees. One boy climbed an impossible trunk with speed that defied gravity, almost as if the bark bent to help him. I stared. They're born here, Drake said. Their bodies adjust before they can even speak. Stronger bones. Faster reflexes. Higher tolerance to heat, poison, gravity. Not human anymore. I turned to him. Then what are they? He smiled faintly. What comes next? A young girl approached. Her eyes had a faint reflective shimmer, like some nocturnal predator. She held out something in her small hand. My dog tag. I took it, heart sinking. This was recovered from your recon pilot, Drake said. We tried to warn you not to come. I met his gaze. The council knew. He nodded slowly. They always knew. And they buried it. This world scared them. Not because it kills, because we didn't die. I clenched the tag in my fist. So what now? You keep hiding out here forever? Let your children grow up in the jungle? He studied me. Would you rather they grow up inside walls and lies? I didn't answer. That night, I sat outside a fireless circle. Heat wasn't needed. The air stayed warm even after dusk. Vesh emerged from a woven shelter, arm bandaged, expression tense but lucid. They treated me, she said, sitting beside me. They saved my life. I know. Drake joined us, crouching beside a low stone circle. You think this is madness, he said. But madness is building glass towers and pretending the universe isn't trying to erase you. I stayed silent. You don't have to agree, he added. But you need to understand. If you leave here and speak, the council will erase us. I have a duty. You have a choice. The wind shifted. I smelled ozone again. Drake looked to the dark ridge. Storm's coming. What kind? He stood slowly. The kind that eats buildings. As he walked off, Vesh leaned toward me, voice low. He's not wrong, Celine. I looked at the dog tag again. The code was clear, do not extract. The air changed an hour before the storm hit. It started with silence, an oppressive hush that blanketed the jungle. Even the trees held still. The leaves stopped swaying. The children were ushered underground without a word. I stood near the northern perimeter with Drake, his face angled to the sky. His jaw was tight. Barometric pressures crashing. He muttered. They're coming. They? He nodded toward the ridgeline. Deathwind beasts. Drawn by storms. They move with pressure drops. We call them Skinner's dot. What do they hunt? He looked at me. Anything warm. Across the colony, traps were being reset, spears coated in a black sap, walls reinforced with sap-thickened vines. They didn't use tech. They used instinct. Drake tossed me a short spear carved from bone. Metal's too brittle in their mouths. This holds. I caught it, frowning. You want me to fight? No. I need you to. They came at dusk. Tall. Insectal. Six-limbed, their hides shimmered like hot oil. Their shrieks weren't loud, they were deep, vibrating inside the skull like a tuning fork. The first broke through the southern wall, impaling a sentry before vanishing into the canopy. A second one dropped behind a hut, slashing through a defensive post with impossible speed. Vesh and I moved together. We didn't speak. No time. She watched my back, I watched hers. A beast lunged, jaw wide, lined with needle teeth. I drove the spear into its throat. It spasmed, screeched, collapsed. I pulled the blade free, slick and steaming. They didn't die easy. Drake led the front. He moved like the jungle had raised him, low, fast, no wasted motion. His arms snapped like a whip, landing strikes that found muscle, not hide. The colonists moved with him as one, no panic. Just precision. We held them for nearly 20 minutes. Then one got through. I turned too late. Its claw caught Vesh's side. She crumpled, gasping, ribs split open. I roared, jamming the spear through its eye. It fell, twitching. I dropped to my knees. "Stay with me!" She coughed blood. "Guess I'm not evolved enough. Don't talk like that. You'll be okay." But I knew she wouldn't. Drake reached us, eyes cold. "She's already fading. Let her go." I looked at him. "You're not even trying to save her." He said nothing. She grabbed my wrist weakly. "Celine, you saw them. They're different now. Maybe that's not a bad thing." She died before I could reply. After the battle, I walked alone to the ridge. The beacon was still in my pack. The Council's retrieval signal would ping any orbiting ship. It was silent so far, but if I activated it, someone would come. And with them, judgment. Drake approached, silent as ever. "She fought well," he said. "She died because we were here. She died because she couldn't adapt. This world demands more." I turned on him. "You keep saying that like it's holy. Like evolution is worth worshipping." He shrugged. "It's truth. You survived tonight. You're stronger than you were yesterday. And what happens if I call them down? What if I bring the Council here?" He didn't hesitate. "Then we burn everything. And start over." I pulled the beacon from my pack. His eyes locked on it. "You always were the loyal one," he said softly. "The good soldier. You think this is about orders?" I snapped. "You think I want to drag ships here to dissect your kids and pave your jungle? I came to find a signal. Not rewrite evolution." He stepped forward. "Then don't. Let the jungle keep its secret. I can't just bury the truth." He took another step. "You already did." My thumb hovered over the activation panel. The beacon pulsed, faint but ready. "You know what happens if I light this up?" I whispered. Drake nodded. "We stop being a myth." I looked at the jungle. At the scarred trees. The half-silent colony still smoldering in places. And then I looked at the dog tag in my palm. Drake. I closed my hand around it. "I came to find a ghost," I said. "And I found a new species." He raised an eyebrow. "And?" I turned. Walked to the edge of a lava fissure that had opened during the quake. Without a word, I threw the beacon in. It hit with a faint splash of fire, and vanished. Drake exhaled. "Just once." "Good girl," he said. That night, I recorded a single message on my backup drive. "Classified report, Mission VX-407X. Final status, negative. Surface conditions remain unsurvivable. Beacon was a remnant of an earlier, failed expedition. No living personnel encountered. Recommend no further attempts. Planet deemed non-viable. Commander Celine Cade." I wiped the full mission log. I climbed the ridge alone the next morning. The colonists didn't follow. A rescue signal from high orbit eventually caught. I marked a clean LZ and waited. As the retrieval shuttle broke atmosphere, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I already knew Drake was watching, from the trees, from the vines, from the world itself. He had become part of it. And maybe, part of me had too. 2 weeks later, I stood in front of the Galactic Council tribunal, blinking under sterile white lights that never flickered, never faded. The chamber was circular, designed to resemble fairness. It wasn't. Behind the curved desk, 12 officials sat in polished silence, faces neutral. Above them, a projection of VX-407XS atmosphere rotated slowly, color-coded red, tagged, unsurvivable classification maintained. They didn't ask how Vesh died. They didn't ask about Drake. They only asked why I came back alone. Commander Cade, the lead adjudicator began, voice clipped and rehearsed. Your field report concludes no evidence of sustainable human presence on VX-407X. Yet beacon data shows it was encoded in post-Earth syntax, Terran military format, abandoned over 80 years ago. How do you explain this? I believe the beacon was from a long-lost outpost. Likely a rogue expedition, I replied evenly. He frowned. And you encountered no survivors? No. Did you attempt recovery? The site was compromised. Environmental instability made approach impossible. There was a pause. Silent deliberation. Then a second voice, older, colder. Commander, how would you characterize your mission success? I didn't hesitate. We confirmed the classification. The planet is hostile. No future attempts recommended. Another official leaned forward. Your team suffered 2 casualties. No signal logs. No footage. Why was your data wiped? I met his eyes. Corrupted during the storm. Our equipment couldn't handle the electromagnetic pulse fluctuations. It was a miracle we got out. They accepted it. Or pretended to. Your service is noted, the chairperson finally said. You are granted extended leave. Return to base for medical evaluation and psychological clearance. Dismissed. The halls outside the chamber were quieter than I remembered. Everything inside Central Command felt too clean, no dirt under the nails, no scent of smoke or blood. Just glass and silence. As I stepped into the elevator, a voice joined me. You lied to them. I turned. A woman in a gray uniform, insignia redacted. Intelligence Division. I said nothing. She continued. They knew about Drake. You knew they did. But you didn't bring him in. You said it yourself. I replied. No one's there. She smiled, not kindly. You burned the only proof. Then we're done. You think this ends now? She stepped closer. Drake's still breathing. That alone is a threat. Let him be. He's not coming back. She tilted her head. But what if they do? What if more humans decide to follow him? People hear about a planet where only the strongest survive, where evolution isn't a concept, it's daily law. That scares them. Then maybe they should be scared. She didn't answer. The elevator chimed. She stepped out, heels echoing on steel. I didn't sleep that night. Too quiet. No jungle howls, no insects crawling across canvas. Just artificial silence and a mattress that felt like it was trying to smother me in comfort. I thought of Vesh. Her fingers tightening around mine. Her last breath more accepting than afraid. I thought of the little girl with silver eyes, handing me my own dog tag like a returned relic. And I thought of Drake. Not the soldier I used to know, but the man he became, savage and sane in equal measure, leading a community where no weak links could survive. I rolled over. My muscles ached, not from exertion, but inactivity. I missed the weight of gravity pressing down. The fight. This place, this whole polished station, felt too safe. 3 days later, I was called to Sublevel 9. Not medical. Not command. Observation. I knew the halls well. I'd passed this corridor 100 times without looking through the glass. But now, it was different. They led me to a sealed lab behind reinforced glass. I recognized the layout. Biological hazard containment. Category 5. A child sat inside. No older than 10. Hair shaved, vitals monitored, posture perfect. Her eyes caught mine. Reflective. Silver blue. I stepped back. She made it off-world? I whispered. Drake didn't, the woman beside me said. Same gray uniform. Different smile. But she did. I turned sharply. How? Stowed away. One of the drones caught a heat signature. By the time we noticed, she was already here. She's not a specimen. She's not yours to protect. She's not yours either. The woman crossed her arms. We're studying her. Carefully. Minimal interference. But you should understand, what's in her blood could rewrite our understanding of biology. She is what comes next. She's a child. The woman tapped the glass. She's proof. And you can't bury proof. I looked back through the window. The girl stood. She raised one hand. And smiled. That night I packed. Not much, just what I needed. Coordinates, burner codes, backdoor shuttles. I had friends. People who owed me favors. Some of them still wore uniforms. Others hadn't in years. The council thought they'd erased the evidence. But in their desperation to contain it, they exposed something worse. Curiosity. Once people learned what the girl was, what she could do, there would be more. Not just from the colonies. From Earth. From the fringe. They wouldn't stop. And neither would I. At the spaceport, I moved through clearance with forged credentials. No one asked questions. Too much order makes people blind. As I approached the final checkpoint, someone fell into step beside me. You heading back to hell? The voice asked. I turned, gray uniform, same face, same cold smile. I thought you'd try this, she said. Then stop me. She looked ahead. We don't stop fires anymore. We watch them burn. You're not the only one with doubts. What happens when the truth spreads? She paused. Then the galaxy will have to evolve. Or die trying. We stood there for a second, two sides of the same war, both exhausted, either blinking. Then she walked away. I boarded the shuttle alone. As the engines fired and the stars opened up ahead, I pulled the dog tag from my coat pocket. Drake. He hadn't been wrong. He'd just been early. And this time, I wouldn't be too late.